Hunger has a way of revealing deeper needs than food alone. What if the area of your life that feels most empty is exactly where Jesus plans to pour abundance? What if God isn't just able to provide once, but again and again, beyond anything you fear, is running out? In Mark 8, 1 to 10, we return to a familiar but profoundly important miracle, the feeding of the 4,000. Many people know about the feeding of the 5,000 earlier in Jesus' ministry. But in this passage, it happens again. Why? Because God doesn't run out of compassion, provision, or power. Jesus does not say, "I helped you once, that should be enough." Instead, he proves that his heart for our needs is continuous and overflowing. Let's enter the scene. A large crowd has been following Jesus for 3 days. Not minutes, not hours, days. They have sacrificed comfort, sleep, and security because their hunger for truth is greater than their hunger for bread. Jesus looks at them, exhausted and hungry, and he says something so simple yet overflowing with divine love. I have compassion for these people. Before a miracle happens, compassion moves the heart of God. He continues, they have already been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they will collapse on the way. Jesus sees the details. He knows the risk. He understands human limits. He cares about their bodies just as much as their souls. But the disciples respond in a way that reveals how quickly we forget God's faithfulness. Where in this remote place can anyone get enough bread to feed them? They had already seen Jesus multiply food once, yet fear replaces memory. Doubt is loud when circumstances look the same as before. We are often the same, aren't we? We experienced God's help yesterday, yet panic when a new problem arises today. But Jesus gently draws them back to faith. How many loaves do you have? They check. 7 loaves, a few small fish. Not enough by human standards. More than enough in the hands of Jesus. He instructs the crowd to sit down. He takes the bread, gives thanks, breaks it, and places it into the disciples' hands to distribute. Once again, the miracle happens as they obey. Everyone eats, everyone is satisfied. This wasn't a tiny bite, it was a full meal. Afterwards, 7 large baskets of leftovers remain. 7 loaves at the start, 7 baskets at the end. Not coincidence, but confirmation. Where Jesus provides, increase remains. And what happens next? Jesus sends them home, not hungry, not weak, but strengthened to continue their journey. This passage is rich with truth, so let's draw out what it reveals about Jesus and faith. First, Jesus sees needs before we ask He. The crowd never prayed for food. They didn't demand a miracle. Jesus noticed their hunger and moved with compassion. He sees your hidden needs too, the wariness others miss. Second, Jesus cares about physical as well as spiritual needs. Some think God only cares about souls going to heaven, but Jesus cares if you are tired, hungry, overwhelmed, struggling to keep going. He is Lord of every detail in your life. Third, God's past miracles are not the last ones. We often believe for first-time miracles, but struggle with second ones. Sometimes we think, God helped me before, but I can't ask again. Maybe I used up too much of His grace. Maybe this time He won't come through. This story reminds us, God's compassion is not a one-time resource. Fourth, scarcity becomes abundance when entrusted to Jesus. 7 loaves may feel small. A few fish may feel insignificant. Your resources might look too limited to meet the need. But in God's hands, limitations become multiplication. Fifth, Jesus includes us in His miracles. He could have made bread appear instantly. But He chose to work through His disciples, through hands that once doubted. Even with weak faith, Jesus invites participation. Sixth, Jesus satisfies, not barely provides. There is no shortage in God's kingdom. He doesn't give scraps, He gives fullness. Jesus doesn't say just enough to survive. He says more than enough. Stay strong for the journey. Seventh, miracles aren't just about provision. They're about revelation, aren't they? The disciples needed to see Jesus as the ultimate provider, not just a one-miracle wonder. This second feeding reinforces a foundational truth. Jesus is not bound by numbers, location, or human limitation. Now let's turn inward, because this story isn't just about bread. Maybe you are in a season that feels like a wilderness. Your finances are tight. Your energy is running low. Your hope feels thin. Your emotional strength is fading. Your faith is tired because the journey is long. You've followed Jesus faithfully, and yet you feel empty. Jesus says, I have compassion for you. Maybe you feel like the disciples. You know God can do miracles, but this situation looks too familiar. So fear whispers, what if this time nothing happens? Jesus is asking, how many loaves do you have? Not how much don't you have, but what will you entrust to me? Maybe your loaves look like a small prayer, a tiny bit of strength, a little time left to believe, a broken effort to keep going, a fragile amount of faith hanging on. Don't underestimate what God can multiply. Your not enough is Jesus' starting point. Or maybe you identify with the crowd. You've been walking with Jesus for days. You're committed but hungry. You're following but drained. You're faithful but barely holding on. Jesus is not asking you to pretend you're fine. He is inviting you to sit down, to stop striving, to receive. Some miracles come when we stop moving and start waiting. Jesus does not expect you to feed yourself. He promises to feed your soul. Maybe you have been worried about what comes next, what lies ahead on the road. Jesus says, it is dangerous to continue hungry. Let me strengthen you first. Your future success may depend on the nourishment Jesus wants to give you right now. One more powerful truth in this story. Jesus performs this miracle in Gentile territory, a region outside Jewish boundaries. This means his love is not confined to religion, tradition, or location. He is the Savior of the world, yours included. So hear this clearly. God has not forgotten you. He has not run out of provision for you. He doesn't resent your need. He doesn't compare you to others. He doesn't say, didn't I already help you once? He says, I have compassion for you again. Jesus didn't feed the crowd because they deserved it, but because he is good. The miracle ends with the crowd strengthened and Jesus moving them forward into the next chapter. God will not let this season drain you, not when he has plans for your future. Today, Jesus is asking you, what will you place in my hands? All 7 loaves, all few fish, your whole need, your entire trust, anything that seems small, Jesus can make supernatural as long as it's surrendered. Thank you so much for watching this message. If it encouraged you to trust God's ongoing provision for your life, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and make sure to follow and subscribe to Holy Path Insights for more powerful Bible-based teachings each week. May Jesus satisfy your soul, multiply what you surrender, and strengthen you for the journey ahead. God bless you.